Shalom Habarim. Listen, what if we had the ability to intelligently identify what other humans we can actually trust, to what extent? Because always only trust in God's attribute of love and be guided by wisdom, right? Yet, how do we know who we can trust, okay? And this is extremely important because all of us as human beings, we have lots of different types of legitimate relationships with different human beings, whether it's in private life, whether it's at work, etc., all these things. So how do you know who you can trust, and how do you know why you feel that you can trust somebody or not? And I'm going to explain this so you can make the right decisions that will lead to ultimate positive safety results in health and wealth. Okay, so the thing is, first of all, the easiest way to do this is actually the following. It is to be assisted, divinely assisted by wisdom, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and God geometrized, and the beginning of wisdom is a fear of God, right? And wisdom was there helping him. In the beginning was wisdom, okay? So if with wisdom helping us, we can always make the best decisions in life, and we are just healthier and wealthier all the time, right? And good and legit and happy and blessed, okay? It's that simple. That's how to do it. Now that is accomplished by having an overview of and monitoring and mapping the life cycles that you're in, ideally every day, especially the daily periods of the cycles of life, because there are certain times a day when people will appear to us, no matter who it is, and they're basically trustworthy to a certain degree based on how life has programmed the interaction to be with that person at that time, based on the life cycles, that the life cycle of that acquaintance, doesn't matter who it is, anybody and everybody. When you meet a person for the first time, it's determined already what will become of it because of the life cycle of that acquaintance, right? And when that began, it's already predestined to be a certain way. So that's the first way. And then we have to be attentive because, look, there is something called manipulation. And I'm just thinking about this from the perspective of a young man of God, right? On the way, hazak, right? Be strong, and, yetekedes, be separate, right? And protect your life, okay? And there's a huge amount of easily accomplished hard work that has to go on where we have ourselves in check, we have our sexual drive in check, and mastery over ourselves and over our life and our destiny in accordance with God's will. And so should you all, whether you're male or female, you can all do this and learn this, okay? And it's important. See, we have to have mastery. He that mastereth himself, or she too, that mastereth himself or herself, is mightier than him that taketh a city, okay? So you got to have self-mastery. Now, usually one of the more difficult things to master, apparently, is the sexual drive. When you have mastery over that, you have mastery over everything. There's one more thing that has appeared on the horizon that has to be mastered, particularly for young men. You have to be intelligent enough, strong enough, and have yourself in check so that you do not become manipulated by an older woman, because it is a problem. Yeah, it is. And we can fix it because we know exactly how it works. And so should you. And listen, this also applies to females. So if you're a female watching this, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Anything I'm saying right now, talking about it from a male perspective, it also applies to a female perspective and a female scenario, okay? It's the same logic. So there's this thing, and we've seen this, we've heard about this. There's this thing where older women try to seduce younger men. And there's all types of nonsense out there. To hell with it. What is it? Like, to follow the law is like perfect wisdom or something. So, look, at the end of the day, manipulation has many faces, some of them smiling faces. Yet we can see through them all, right? With wisdom. That's a big divine blessing there, thank God Almighty. I'm going to go from a perspective of a young man of God, okay? But if you're a female listening to this, a righteous woman, hopefully, then you can also benefit from this, because it's the same wisdom that works, whether it's male or female. It's the same thing, okay? So, look, as a young man, you have to be intelligent enough and steadfast enough so that you're not able to be manipulated by a female. No matter if she's your same age or if she's older than you, no matter how much you like her, it doesn't matter. You have to be master over yourself, your life, and your destiny at all times to a maximum degree, okay? And that's simply accomplished by having wisdom help you, okay? And that's like from God is my help, Eleazar, right? It's a divine name. So the way that this works specifically, though, is this. You see, it's like the psychology of a young man, right, is automatically programmed by the maternal type. So, in other words, as a young man, or even as a man generally, your psychology, like, not your psychology, yeah, psychology, the way you view a woman or a female or the opposite sex as a man, is all very much programmed by your maternal type or your parent, who's your mother, okay? So now, there's a real problem when, for example, a young man meets an older woman who is actually trying to manipulate and seduce, and who is like, see, able to manipulate this person because of this person being and associating this other person with the parental sort of programmed psychology and typology, okay? Okay, how do I explain this? Human beings have it's been scientifically proven that human beings have the tendency to view people with similar genetic features kind of along the lines of family. So like, if you see somebody who reminds you of one of your parents, it's a totally different level of trust, sort of instinctively, although that has to be managed with wisdom, as all things do, than if it's someone who looks completely different than you, okay? So this is scientifically proven. So there's a problem for young men if an older woman is trying to seduce you, and you got to understand what's actually going on in your mind at this moment. Look, you cannot be seduced. You cannot be seduced by any woman if you have yourself mastered, right? And your sexual drive mastered. And how do you do that? You take a deep breath and you keep yourself in check, right? You think about and meditate on God's law day and night and be guided by wisdom and make decisions wisely in accordance with God's law, and you're permanently blessed. That's it. So don't be subtly manipulated as a young man by a woman, whether she's younger than you, the same age, or older than you, because of the fact that she reminds you of your mother. Pardon me for saying that, but that's a fact. It's something that you should look at, fellas, because, look, I've seen it myself where there's people that interact with each other and it's like, what? Oh, no wonder. It's because, see, they have the same face. They have, like, you got to understand why. So we have to actually have mastery over and understand and analyze ourselves and why we think what we think and why we're compelled to do what we, all this stuff. Like, all of it, everything has to be guided by wisdom. Okay, and if that's the case, then guess what? You're permanently safe in life forever. If it's not, then you've got a lot of unnecessary danger involved. So what I'm saying is, now, to me, this seems logical and automatically like this is easy. But to someone younger than myself, do you know that, okay, all right, the ideal example is in the Holy Law, how women are supposed to be, how men are supposed to be, how parents are supposed to be, how righteous, legitimate female-male relationships are supposed to be, all this stuff. It's all laid out in the Holy Law, okay? But see, you have to pay attention because manipulation exists. Usually manipulation between human beings is actually for survival purposes, mostly unconscious, actually. Yet still, that has to be guarded against. You have to be able to guard and protect your life, okay? And now, it's all too often in society, they make it seem like, well, look, you know, it's the women that are vulnerable. No, men are also vulnerable to manipulation. Abusive relationships do not actually always include the male counterpart being like the aggressor. In fact, there are abusive relationships and manipulative tendencies that go on that are actually even the result of ignorance. And so the solution is to have wisdom to be able to protect yourself in life and not be manipulated because you're intelligent enough to understand yourself and to make the right decisions. Whether, you know, whatever age you are, you can always be wise and prudent, make the right decisions, and you're good. And your life is good, and it's really good with you, okay? It's technically how it works, and that's how it's supposed to be. The problem is, if you're ignorant, why would you be ignorant? Because you wouldn't have had enough experience to actually know. You wouldn't actually know, because how can you know if you haven't charted the territory and experienced in order to actually know how this works, okay? Well, so instead, you have some